Our car park challenge has been a recurring theme, as it is in many schools, the car park congestion at a peak time of the day.
When we started working with the school, we were presented with what seemed like a pretty complex design problem, that the car park, like lots of schools, was thought of as being a dangerous place with a really poor experience for people using it. The kids were very focused on the fact that we had a design problem to solve. And in this case, as well as taking them through a methodology, they knew that we were going to come up with recommendations on a car park, a real thing that is literally getting changed now because of the recommendations they made. So we found out a whole bunch of things that were reality in the car park, like most of the activity, 80% of it takes place within a 15-minute period, and also that there were a lot of myths that we could break, like the car park actually wasn't that dangerous. So there were really two things we were trying to achieve. One was, could we solve the design problem? Could we make their car park a better experience, safer? And secondly, how would they go over a 6 to 10 week period, really been worked quite hard through a design process.
So we didn't change anything about our process. It was still get an intent, have a clear sponsor, do the research, so that was observation and interviews, do prototyping and testing. So none of that actually changed, but because we were working on a real life project, it meant that you could be out in the field immediately as you go out of the classroom door. And we very much used the theory of don't learn it, do it, that's how you'll learn it.
You have some kids that really got into the testing, but then there were other kids who their strengths were really much more into looking at the data and analysing the data, and that it didn't matter who did what, we all did it together.
What we saw was how little people are able to work within the roles that they have in a multidisciplinary team. And one of our real approaches within service design is to utilise multiple skills in a multidisciplinary team, be design-led, which we were able to do in this project as designers, but let people shine in the different areas that they saw fit, and that was really inspiring to see kids step up at different times in different parts of the project.
So there are three components to the solutions. One was around setting boundaries, one was around first informing and then directing, and one was around dealing with the peak. But the most elegant part of the solution was within the dealing with the peak. The peak was 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the afternoon. It was not all day, the car park didn't need to be bigger. So one of the elements of the solution was to introduce a speed hump. And then the second element was to literally cut the road in half for those 15 minutes, just with cones, so very affordable. And what it did was it meant that people just drove through and they just stopped to drop their kids off or pick them up, and then they carried on through. And what that did was it cut the travel time from 55 seconds to 25, and it was a really beautiful way of solving how the car park actually works.
We're so excited about taking the next step, which is actually sharing the work, again for real audiences, so the beautiful opportunities for demonstration of strong literacy by our students in communicating once again to a real audience.
I think there's real possibilities for sustained partnerships between the education sector and private sector and other government sectors in terms of working together through similar methodologies to support outcomes for students and communities that are positive.
Designing schools as a concept wasn't designed originally to be commoditised. This very pure collaboration of a meeting of education and designers came about because of a need, and that need through what was a pop-up project on the car park has been answered by Design in Schools. The fact that we built a syllabus and we built a whole range of material to take the little people through this process means that we now have a commodity, we have a product called Design in Schools that if the right design question is in place in a community, then we can roll out to any number of schools and any number of design questions.
Yeah, it was a really lovely project to be part of because it had this great feeling of connectedness and mobilisation, and I think that really came from the way that DMA and the service design approach connected skills with emotion. So there was, real building of skills that come from the curriculum with experiences like surprise and curiosity and excitement and change and uncertainty. And that was a really powerful and pleasurable thing to be part of.